you guys remember what they used to do with leaf blowers in the neighbourhood when we're in the film industry?
They used to pay them off, didn't they?
Yeah, they'd take them a case of beer and say, mate, can you fuck off for a few hours?
Yeah.
It was great. You'd be shooting a commercial like in the suburban house, and there's always a leaf blower in the middle of the day. It doesn't matter which part of suburbia you're in. Someone's blowing.
The North Shore in particular. I found. When you're in the North Shore, like Chatswood and around there, it's so green and beautiful, but it doesn't matter where you are around there shooting, there's always a leaf blower or a lawnmower.
I reckon they just come out just to fucking spite the
Get the
film
case
crew.
of beer. Yeah. Fuck these guys, I'm getting a case.
Well, we've parked 1,000 trucks down there on the suburban street for the morning.
Yeah, that's right. You do ruin the neighbourhood for the day. Guys, welcome to episode 51, Jungle Brothers Podcast. It's me, your host, Joe Worthington, Paul Fotofili,
What's up?
Tira Ward.
Hello.
Today we're talking about training, and we're going to just delve into the variety of what we do. And this has kind of come about because we've noticed this for a long time, but with our internship and such things at the moment, we've got this kind of influx of people coming from all these different arts and disciplines that want to train with us or learn how we train people and what it is that we do. So we wanted to sort of dive into that a little bit. Before we do have our internship kicking off on the 19th of March. That's only a couple of weeks away. There is one spot left at this point. If you are interested, reach out. You don't need to be qualified as a coach or a PT. It's good, but you don't have to be. Yeah, let's rip in.
I had a question.
Talk to me
about the internship. How many people do you take?
We take 6.
6 people.
Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, we cap it at 6.
And that runs for how many weeks?
12 weeks.
It's a good sized group.
Yeah. We meet once a week for the internship meet, and then the interns are also encouraged to come to our coaches meet, the staff coaches meet here, which is on the same day. And then they're required to attend 3 sessions, 3 classes at Jungle Brothers. So they need to be training here like they were a member for the duration of that as well. So there's a bit of time commitment, but it's not massive.
Training, shadowing, and then education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of it, the shadowing, and then they'd move into an assistant kind of coaching role, so they get some real hands-on
Get
experience.
a chance to run the ship.
That's right. We can sit back, crack a beer.
Nice. Where do we want to start today?
Well, we should kick off with to give maybe people who haven't listened to all of our episodes yet, maybe a basic understanding of what it is that we do in our training. So you touched on before, Paul, the fight, lift, move methodology. Mm-hmm. What that is. Give me a breakdown of what that means.
Well, it's almost like a multifaceted discipline in one, isn't it? What we're doing here now.
Yeah.
It's evolved a lot. I mean, they're originally the stuff that we just liked doing. And I think as practitioners ourselves, we gravitated to these 3 kind of fundamentals of our training because firstly, it allowed us to continue to enjoy the fight side of things and roll and spar and compete and all that kind of stuff without getting injured. Or mitigating injury, and then creating a foundation a system that has that's a foundation of all things movement
All
based.
attributes.
Yeah.
But it also came from more of an anthropological kind of point of view. Remember from the ancient man, and I remember when we were sitting there and you were presenting, when we were still carving out what we do and what our system was. It came from that idea of the attributes of the ancient man, of which we have evolved from.
And woman.
And woman, before modern day.
Man as a collective, of course.
Man as a collective.
Humans.
Before, we were accelerated into all the other different eras of industry and transport and information, etc. So there were the ancient man.
Well, it was sort of the 3 key physical tasks.
That's right.
Yeah, task-driven.
That
defend,
they required.
Defend your tribe and attack. It was hunt. It was relocating.
Yeah.
And carrying
Move from place to
heavy
place.
shit.
Climbing things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Being able
And then
to
lift and shit.
Yeah.
lift and shit.
And handstands, of course.
rocks and
Like,
corpses and
front lever, like you climb to the thing, you do the front lever,
Front
the
lever.
woman sees you, she declares that you are the one.
yes,
You
Planche.
get fed the deer. Yeah, the planche.
yeah, handstand. Look at me. Look at me. Hey.
Oh, that's really funny. But yeah, it's true. So it totally did, and we're like, oh well, you know, because whenever you talk about, I don't know if it's talking in absolutes, but when you take a very complex thing like all of these physical tasks and the stuff that we like doing in our own training, and then you try to sum it up into a nice little motto or like tagline, like fight, lift, move, you're finding ways to make it work for you. And then you're also finding ways to make it legitimate. And we're like, well, yeah, that does represent three kind of key areas of physicality that were required by people living in a natural environment. You could argue that you still have to do them now. You just do some of them differently. Like we just move like shit. But you still move, right? You still got to walk to the bus. You got to, sit on the chair.
Lift the pen.
Yeah, lift the pen. Like it's happening. It's just not as impressive as maybe it
Fight
once
with
was.
your wife.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't do that.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, it's Valentine's Day today, and we just ate chocolates that were given to us by Sophie. Thanks, Soph.
Thanks, Sophie.
Shout out, Soph.
So,
We're all taken. Just throw that out there. We had this fight, lift, move thing, and then we realized also that what we do in our own training really that's what it is, right? We all have a fight background at some point that we, whether it was Thai boxing or boxing or kung fu, jiu-jitsu. We all like lifting a bit of weights, and we all like doing a bit of body weight strength, and it seemed and developing skills through that. So it seemed to kind of fit conveniently.
Yeah, that's right.
and at some point, we crave a bit of that.
Well,
Like,
I think
naturally.
that's what it's in us intrinsically. So when you combine these elements, then you actually enjoy it because the body is designed to do it. And I don't think it's designed to do just one all the time. I think you need the other elements in there to feel or to gain balance in the body.
Yeah, like a well-roundedness.
Yeah, you can see it. See when you're looking at a specialist athlete that just does the one thing day in and day out, their body's getting kind of punished for it in a way. They're adapting to what they do most.
That's right. Yeah, and that's the thing. And I guess this will tie us into where we're going with the chat, which is the three areas of physicality that we see as important. But it's true. If you to put it into an example for folks that maybe they can understand better, if you just lift, then you can go to a powerlifting gym and see people that just lift, and they're incredibly good at that. But the certain attributes that are developed there, let's say rigidity and tension, and even mass, might make it very hard for that same individual to go and take a dance class.
Or climb a tree.
Or go rock climbing. So then it's like, okay, well, so I want a bit of that, because lifting weights is important. Getting strong and being able to be rigid at times and create force is important. But I don't want to be able to do just that. So we want a bit of that. And then, okay, well, what about the movement thing? Okay, well, I still want to be flexible and supple and, be able to go dance or do a jiu-jitsu class. Yeah. So we're looking kind of for the best of all of those worlds in a sense.
That's right. And if anyone's looking at him, this is kind of funny. He's still kick their ass.
That's right. And they don't even realize you've snap kicked them in the head and sat back down.
That's right.
to sip
Well, they're
your
just
latte.
coming too.
Whilst lifting the shopping.
Yeah. That's right. On Valentine's Day. so the
Snap kick to the head.
my favorite was the Lebanese snap kick. Do you
Snap
remember
kick.
Guido Hatzis?
Very well.
He was the best.
Snap gig.
Lebanese snap kick to the head.
Spinning roundhouse.
So then we have this model, right? So that's the Jungle Brothers thing, fight, lift, move. That's what we do. And then we have this other model that's really how we break down our entire service or product, and that's what we're selling here. That's what the members get. And it looks like training, and it mostly is training, but then there's all this other stuff. That's the community aspect. That's the education around recovery and nutrition and contribution and all those things that are sort of woven into the fabric of this business. But one of those sort of spheres is physicality, and we have three words that we use to define that sphere of physicality, and that's adaptability, durability, and expression. Maybe we should dive into a little bit what we mean by those. And these are open. We're going to interpret I'm sure we're going to have some things to add and sort of discuss on this, because we keep them broad so that it gives us options, right? So we can mold it to fit what we believe is important. Talk to me, guys, about adaptability.
I think we should start at durability. Can we start at durability?
We can start.
I would like to start at expression, actually.
Okay, let's all go.
No,
One,
Paul,
two,
you're
three.
not showing very good adaptability right now.
That's true. What do you want? Adaptability?
Yeah, well, whatever.
Mate, I don't care.
Yeah,
I can go anywhere.
Why don't you explain adaptability? Because you explained it really well just off the mic before.
All right. So,
It was beautiful.
so drawing on that example of the powerlifter wants to go do the dance class, blah, blah, blah. You don't want a body or a mind that is so far down one particular path that you can't travel down other paths. If you box yourself in to one particular thing, and you could call it a dogma, or you could call it a style of training or a mindset, then you are closed off to other possibilities. And on a greater conceptual level, that is just for your mind, that is not a good place to be, right? That stops you growing, it stops you developing and learning new things. But from a physical sense, it causes problems. It creates imbalance in the body. It causes you to become really good at some things and really bad at other things. So take the person that just lifts heavy weights day in and day out. They get good at that, really good. But chances are they're going to be very inflexible. Chances are if they get put into a position that's anywhere outside of the positions they train, hinging, squatting, whatever, they might break. So they actually they're not strong, right? So they're not adaptable. And if they find themselves in a situation or in a context that is not the one they're used to, then they're in trouble, right? So real simple. I had with a mate of mine. He's got a few years on me. He was actually one of my first clients, but he went really deep into the kind of bodybuilding at Darlinghurst, like bodybuilding, getting big, getting real strong, thick muscle, all that kind of thing. And then we were doing a Tough Mudder run with the gym, and he wanted to come along, and he came. And he ran up and jumped over a log, and he kind of slipped on the log, and it wasn't super hectic, but he fell, and he just fell like if you dropped a refrigerator off like a 1 meter drop. Like it was just like this rigid thing that went bang on the ground, and he was like, "Oh, my back!" Love the guy, Alan. If you're listening, you're my man.
Poor guy.
But he paid a fucking price, right? Like he had no suppleness, right?
Did you laugh?
Didn't I think I did, and then I was like,
then
"Oh
you
fuck,
felt
he's
bad.
really sore." Yeah, and it was like the first. It wasn't even an obstacle; it was just a little feature of the course. And then we had like another 19 k's to go, and he ended up really hurting himself. I mean, he came out of it okay, but it was a bit of a thing he had to fix. But in any case, there's a really good example of, okay, in the gym environment, he's really good at that. He expresses himself really well there. He's a strong dude. Wow, look how much muscle that guy's got. And then you get him out onto this fun run, obstacle course, and he breaks. So he had zero adaptability in that moment, right? So the way I see it is you want to be able to go and do Tough Mudder. You want to be able to join a friend on a Saturday at our lift class here at Jungle Brothers where you're fucking trying to PR your deadlift.
Or even on a general population, people who don't necessarily have any training under their belt. Now, like looking at adaptability, it's like being able to be on holiday and you're with another friend's family and stuff like that, and they want to go and do something that's outdoors, and go surfing, and you want to be able to enjoy that recreational thing with them. Let's go for a bushwalk. It's only 5Ks, but for some people, 5Ks isn't something that they can do. It's a bit too rocky. It's not flat. So for the general person, it's the freedoms that adaptability allow you.
100%. 100%, man.
I think it's also if it's emphasis in your training, then your ability to adapt quicker over time starts to increase.
Yeah.
By building a body that's more pliable. Also, your neurological system responds as well. So just from exposure to multiple disciplines or unstable environments that change on you on a regular basis and that kind of stuff. And that's not to be mistaken for variety, because variety is a little bit different, because you still need to be increasing intensity and difficulty and complexity and all that kind of stuff to progress as an individual, but there has to be the variable environment there for your body to be able to start expressing or getting challenged to express more adaptability.
That's a really great point, right? It's, like, because we do, in fitness, you hear that a lot, that it's like, like shock the body, do different things, like, and there's an element of truth to that, but it's not like do a different workout every fucking day. Like, there needs to be consistency, exactly like you said, to your strength development, to your mobility development, so that you can control or turn up these metrics like intensity and load and difficulty. So it's kind of a bit of a balancing act, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
You want to have exposure to these different areas, but then you also want consistency to the exposure of each. So that's how I see adaptability.
Yeah, okay, that was cool.
I think within that, like let's say we look at we're talking about the power lifter and limited range of motion.
I'm not trying to hang shit on powerlifters, by the way. It's just that
there's some real mobile ones out there.
there are. Someone's probably going to send me a video fucking crushing what I just said.
Yeah. But let's say we've got a big type one, and that person wants to start to do other things other than power lift. What's the kind of approach that we would take with somebody like that to make them more adaptable?
If they walked into the walls of our gym...
Well, we get them come in, regularly.
Yep.
Not necessarily the power lifter, but that particular body type that's looking...
big and strong and tight.
Decrease the amount of pain in their body. They want to do more and express more with their body, whether that's getting their first handstand or cartwheel or climbing a tree or ground rock climbing or just playing with the kids.
Well, I guess we start by kind of showing them what they can't do, right?
Yeah.
We expose the limitations that they have. Not to be a prick, but, so that they can understand, oh, wow, I can't actually achieve this position yet or this place.
You mean like actually walk through what would happen?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously we've talked about the screen and that before, but it is an exposure, firstly, of where you're weak. Yeah. And then, obviously, once you've found the problem, then you need to start building a process a step-by-step process that gets them that solves that problem. And those small steps and milestones where it's at, increase in masteries of particular tasks, which I think would be completely the opposite to somebody that comes in that's really, really mobile but just weak all over. Because that's another form of inadaptability, because you're missing what the powerlifter has, and that's that strength output, So the approach for somebody like that is, okay, you're weak, and you're weak.
You're a wet noodle.
Yes. And you need to be doing a little bit more of what that guy's doing. And he needs to be doing a little bit more of what
how
you're
fucking strong
doing.
that guy is.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point to go into durability, because I think part of durability is being strong, but also being
balanced.
Supple enough to be able to take a knock and be able to absorb that force, across multiple joints instead of one, or falling over, etc.
Yeah.
Tell us more about durability, T.
Well, I think the more balanced your body is, the more durable it is. So if being able to express full range of motion, but with the range needs to be an element of stability, and with that stability tissue to back up that range, but also pliability, or the ability to stretch as well. So things can still hold together or not snap or shear or break.
What about malleability?
Well, I think it would be the same kind of thing, wouldn't it?
That's T's favourite word.
I don't know how to say it.
Well, yeah, it's his favourite word, but he says it a few different ways.
Malleability.
Malleable.
Malleable.
Male.
But so on that durability piece, like that's the physical side of it, right? You have a bit of suppleness there, but things are strong. What about on a psychological or like a mental level?
Yeah, well, you just got to be able to fucking get whipped real hard.
Well, talk to me about like all right, so we have a phenomena that occurs in our gym, and I would imagine that there's other gym owners out there who will be able to identify with this phenomena, and that is that females are often very receptive to group training. So females will come to your gym and go, oh yeah, I like what you do. I'd like to join. I have some experience, but I'm an open book and show me what to do. And the phenomena
Big
is
statements, Joe.
Hey,
Big statements.
big statement. Not all of them, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but then oftentimes, and I guess I won't say guys will come in. I'll say the partners of these women will often be hyper resistant to coming into the gym, and there's a thing there where it's like where the dude is like, no, I don't want, I'm not interested. I don't want help with that. I don't, and the girl's like, you should come in. The gym's really awesome. They're doing the things that you like doing, and people are, like getting strong and shit, and you're doing that.
I know this situation.
And the dude's like, yeah, nah, fuck that. I'm not interested. And you see it, we do have partners that train here together, but I often tell those people, I'm like, hey, this dude here is like an exception because most dudes won't come in with their misses. But so I see, that mindset thing, whatever you want to call it, whether it's an ego thing or it's protectionist or whatever, there's a lack of durability there because you can't expose yourself to it. You don't want to expose yourself to an environment where you might not be good at it. So you're choosing to stay inside the confines of what's safe rather than step into something and go, I'm going to suck at this for a little bit. I know I got tight shoulders and I'm going to do the fucking handstands, but I'm going to fix it and it's going to be great. So I see that's a real psychological piece relevant to the idea of durability.
And adaptability.
Yeah.
Well.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about the people that have jumped into Fight Factory, sparring, or have jumped into jiu-jitsu with no experience. And they, the first time going into a class like that, particularly sparring, because people are kicking each other and punching each other in the head and stuff respectfully, that's super intimidating. And if you have no exposure to fight training or minimal, then you go, that's you've got to be very prepared to set your ego aside and suck at something for a pretty hefty amount of time. No?
Totally. Yeah, totally. I think the other ability is vulnerability, which I think, that you need to give up some ground to learn something new. Because when you learn something new, you're just at the beginning of a possible mountain, and you have to kind of submit yourself to the thing that you're about to try, and that's not easy for people to do.
It's a great way to put it.
Especially most of the women in our gym are alpha females, and they're very, very strong and good at what they do. And then you got to come in and get owned by your missus.
It's true.
So you got to deal with that as well.
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone. So you got your ego is just going to get bashed up. So yeah, it's a tough.
But if you love
tough
her,
scenario. Yeah.
If you love her,
on Valentine's Day,
on
especially.
Valentine's Day, I love her.
Anything else on the durability?
Well,
part?
I mean, durability, specifically, here's a thing. When we get people come in for our movement screen, one of the tests that we do is a hang test, right? So we get them up onto a bar, they hang from it, just like a passive hang, and it's just a bit of a test to see what their grip strength is like, what their shoulder range is like, and
mental.
Yeah,
metal is like.
Yeah, totally. It ends up. That's something that I spot from it for sure.
The first thing that everyone says when they come down from that is, that my hands hurt, right? Like most people, fuck, my hands hurt. And it's the skin on their hands, right? The skin on their hands hurts from hanging their body weight off it, and their skin is pulling on the bar. And, and it does hurt when you're doing a lot of bar work, barbell or pull-up bar stuff. Your skin gets sore for sure. But what's really interesting is if you don't do any of that stuff regularly, you can hang for about 5 or 10 seconds and your skin will hurt. So essentially, you got weak skin. The skin on your hands is weak, and that is you could say that is a lack, or it's an adaptation to our modern environment, which is that if you don't do anything that requires you to toughen the skin on your hands, then you're just going to go about having soft hands, right? And that works. That's fine if you live a kind of lifestyle where you get on the bus, you go to the office, get back on the bus, stay at home, that sort of thing.
Put some oil of Olay on it.
Right,
on your
moisturize
hands.
every night.
Rub some of that in. Yeah. Soften it up some more.
But that's a really good representation of of weakness, right? The fucking skin on your hands is so weak that just hanging from it for a little bit hurts your skin. So imagine what your body's like if you are on holidays and someone wants to go on a hike and you got
And it's raining.
It's
Can't
You
go
gotta
when it's raining.
and you got to go climb. You got to climb a tree, or you got to fucking climb a little rock face, or like you're going to get hurt. Probably you're going to tear some skin. You're going to get bumps and bruises. Your body's not particularly durable. Now, I'm not saying like we're trying to build a hypercalloused individual that is, that can handle anything, but really,
universal soldier.
that's the direction we're headed in, right? You want to have a bit of toughness about you, because, and this goes back to what Clint Hill was saying on our first podcast. Stronger people generally deal with knocks in life better. Whether it's a psychological or a mental thing, they just bounce back better. So having a bit of durability, having a bit of robustness to your physicality is important, particularly now at a time where we're getting softer and softer, because here in the West our lives are getting easier and technology is allowing us to do less with our body. So I see that as really important, and that's
important.
And that's why I like fighting as well, because fighting forces you to become durable. Someone trying to choke you out or punch you in the face,
and even if you are inherently weak, fighting, there's something in us that clicks, and I think it's in all humans, and I've seen it, where you just override that pain threshold in a good way, sometimes in a bad way.
Switch it off.
Yeah, and you
Switch
just
it
kind of like, you just get it done, And it's usually when you're, partnering up with someone of a similar level of strength and skill, where that just kind of brings out the best in you.
where you just go, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Very
then,
best
he
mates after.
creams you, and you're like, fuck, I got
Yeah.
wrecked.
I went all in and got slapped.
Yeah. I remember at a soccer pitch once, we were playing this team when I must have been like, I don't know, 16, 17, playing this team from the Hills District, this big, strong dude. Like, I remember the kids out that way were always like big and strong. And this one dude who was like super strong, and like, I kind of saw the play happening, and I lined the guy up. I'm like, I'm going to fucking smash this dude. And like, I ran at him, and I'm like, he was coming onto the ball, and it was perfect. And I ran, and I kind of, in a soccer way, like I dropped my shoulder, and I hit this dude with everything, and I just flew off him. And like, he didn't even notice me. And I was like, on the ground.
Oh, that's happened to me many times. That is so funny. I can see a young Joe, that light hair, like whipping back.
Fucking smash this dude.
Oh, that's good.
Talk to me about the expression piece.
Well, I think before we look at expression, or the basis of that is we look at the foundational classes in our gym. We've got our body weight. We've got learning how to move our own body around. And then we've got strength and movement, which is shifting external weight, but also working on our energy system development. And then we've got our lift program, which is just about building strength and shifting external weight itself. Those classes combine, and then obviously there's an element of mobility, lots of mobility emphasis in everything we do in the gym, allow us to create vessels that have the ability to express more, would you say?
Totally. Yeah. And express how? Like, what is a person or a body that can express itself?
Yeah, and the context of that can be anything, and this is why we like to look at our systems, especially our foundational systems, as a foundation for the universal human. Really, at the end of the day, these foundations will make you better at whatever you do. If you're dancing, if you're climbing, if you're fighting, and I can say that through confidence, because we have all of that here in our gym, on the gym floor on a day-to-day basis, and all of them are still here, doing pole in other gyms, but coming here for their foundational work, and all of them are making more progress in what they do outside of the gym, as well as inside of the gym. On a monthly basis, you can see these people evolving, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I strongly agree. I think the expression thing there is like you can build a body that has a base to allow it to do whatever you want to do. So whatever your interest is. If your interest is jiu-jitsu, then you can go and do that better. If your interest is dance, you can go to that. If your interest is, rock climbing. And that again, it all ties back in, but again goes back to that thing of like, can you be on holidays and go for a hike, or can you go and jump into a casual game of soccer at a picnic with your family? Like all of these little things that that a lot of people probably don't realize they have as self-imposed limitations. It's like we want to remove that, because that's really what that's what your body's for, right? It's to be able to have a bit of fun and do what you want.
And if the more durable you are, the more adaptable you are, then the more potential you have to do
Whatever you
things that
want.
do
Sky's the limit.
better.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't really matter what level you're at. If it's just wanting to learn how to, or feel confident enough to go for a bushwalk with the kids, all the way up to, so we had a young man come in yesterday, who's one of Australia's best break dancers, and his issue was that he felt like he couldn't build enough velocity on his head spinning with his legs open, because that amount of force put pressure on his adductors, and he just wants to get his body stronger at end range, and he's come here to learn how to do that. So it can be any walk of life. All you got to do is find out what those weak links are, strengthen, stretch them, apply the system, and then become a better human all around.
Such a cool example.
It's mad.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'd love to see that dude spin on his head.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, these guys they're doing some crazy stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, I watched a
Amazing.
couple of videos of Ty.
Oh man,
Awesome.
what an awesome individual. It's great.
So on that, like, what do we do for an individual? Say we've got someone, going back to that example of big, strong, tight, come from a background of lifting a lot of weights, or whatever, something that's built them a bit rigid. How does the training system that we take them through differ from that of the wet noodle aforementioned?
Well, they both go through the same process. So we screen them, find out where they're strong, find out where they're weak. Find out where they're strong, find out where they're weak, find out where they're tight. Build some prehabilitative exercise that is applied to stimulating what is weak, so we can start getting those areas of the body active, especially before they start training, and then stretching what is tight and hydrating it so there's less chance of fraying. And also, over time, we start to get range back into those areas. So first step is always to get balance back into the body. And it's actually a lot easier than people tend to perceive, because the body wants to be a certain shape and a certain range. It's designed like that. We come out like that, and you watch that when kids are running around doing their thing. They don't have the coordination, but the body is in balance. And then, we expose it to life, and it fucking starts to come apart. But what we want to do is try and get back natural range of motion, and then build balanced strength throughout the body. And then from there, the foundation can continue to get stronger and more pliable. And then that's where you can start thinking about the context in where you want to use that body. But that foundation, that balance, is very universal. I mean, we're all different shapes and sizes, but it's very easy to see where somebody's deficient if you know what to look for and you got the right coaching, and you learn all that on our internship as well, to spot these things. And then all you got to do is focus on that weakest link, get that weak link strong, the whole chain benefits. And then from there, it's a global approach.
Global as in?
Where you would apply, let's say we're looking at the power lifter. Okay, we don't want to stop him from lifting, because that's what he loves to do and he's good at it. So continue to lift, but you celebrate your strengths, but you must acknowledge the weaknesses. And now that they're exposed and you have a process of dealing with them, then you need to start putting that into place. And obviously it's up to the individual after that. But I think with the culture in this gym, we see it on a regular basis where that particular style of individual come in, and you'd think they'd be at every lift class, and you actually find them in body weight and stretch more so than the classes that they're good at, because the culture in here kind of pushes it, Yeah. It's interesting. Everyone's working on weakness here.
There's you could say that there's a more of a long-term perspective.
Definitely.
Here, and that people adopt that. And they've often adopted it before they've even walked in, because they've seen our Instagram, they've watched, our Facebook, whatever, read our blogs and shit. and they're like, yeah, I get it. Like, this is not, like, you don't come here just for a hard workout. Because like you'll get that, but more importantly, you're going to get this ongoing development.
Yeah, it's
and
a
that
long
takes
game.
time. We sort of touched on that earlier, that there's a lot of gyms out there that provide hard work at the expense of ongoing development, or at the expense of almost any development. Would you say?
Yeah, and I would also say that these systems that are in place today in most gyms, I would say almost all except for your standard, like kind of functional training gym or strength and conditioning gym, that there's no place for context in those gyms for expression. Because if you're doing CrossFit 5 days a week and then you're training for a long distance run, or if I could swim, or you're a climber, there's nothing left in the tank for what you want to apply the context to. The training system itself takes everything from you, and all you need to be or should be doing in between is just healing, because there's nothing there that's helping you. How would I say this? It's the system itself doesn't prep you for the context that you're going to be using your body in outside of the gym.
Right, sport
takes a juice
or
from
the
it,
hike
yeah.
or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
You can't play rugby and be CrossFitting 5 days a week and then do rugby training 3 days a week. It's just, your body's not going to handle it. It's the same with F45, and they're very different systems, don't get me wrong, and I think very differently on the two. But because of the amount of energy exertion and the amount of damage that these systems do to the body, like while you're practicing them, it's very difficult for you to be able to practice a discipline on the side with it. You can't. I mean, how many fighters do you know use CrossFit as a...
Oh, many have tried.
And what happens?
Yeah, they fucking dive into, under recovery, and then they quit CrossFit.
Yeah. So I think that's where our system is very, very different. Like, there's classes where you'll come in here, you'll work very hard, and you might not drop a drip of sweat on the floor. But the gains that you get from that are all about the long game. Okay, how much better do your joints perform? How much more durable is your tendon and ligament? And are you fraying it, or are you making it more pliable? All of these things, and this is the stuff that takes time, and you got to slow shit down a bit when you're in this kind of game.
A bit of a side topic, but not to say that those other systems that are out there that aren't serving the people probably the best, they haven't set out to do it the way that they've done it. And historically, it's been a chain of events in the past. And I know, Joe, you've explained it really well in the past.
I explain most things pretty well.
Really well. How they came to be that way, F45, and it's a combination of historical events, having bodybuilding as something that the Western world really took in decades ago, and that was a model that became popular, etc. Down to also factors like business models, trying to get people in, expand, make money, get people in on short-term kind of arrangements. But I guess I just thinking about how those...
Yeah, almost not to place blame.
Yeah, and I think what we're doing here, this slowing down thing and looking at the long game and the idea of not working hard every single day, and this aspect of... And it's on our little triage here.
Day, right?
It's the nourishment part of it, and the mindset and the rest and the recovery and the down regulation and that sort of thing. Would you say that's becoming more prominent? It seems to me, or maybe it's the circles that I kind of expose myself to, but it seems to be people are realizing this more and more.
I
do.
do.
Think the industry is going that way? Yeah.
I think the small gym kind of strength and conditioning kind of communities going there. But I don't think that the commercial outfits like F45 are going there, because they're not interested in performance. And performance, not, say athletic performance, but just performance as a human, being able to operate better, being healthier, being stronger.
Durable, adaptable.
Yeah, all that shit that we're interested in, that's performance, right? Something like F45, in a way, just gives people what they want. and people don't really know what they need, but they know that they want to like burn calories and sweat.
They're busy.
Yeah, it's like
busy.
45
People are
minutes,
busy.
and
Yeah.
I can tick that box for the day. Great.
Yeah.
How many times I've come? Great. And I'm going to lose weight, right? Let's do it. And so F45 goes, yeah, okay, you can have that, and here it is. But that's, you know, and I don't cut them too much slack because we know that that's not how the body works. We know that you need to coach people and that you need to slow
see
them
your training
down.
in a
And
bigger context.
yeah, and there has to be progress and there has to be a level of individualization. And they just disregard that because the franchise is blowing up and whatever. So, you know, like it's a business model thing, right? But I do think, like you said, yeah, a lot of people in the, like good CrossFit gyms and people in the strength conditioning world, for sure, the recovery piece and all of that is much more at the forefront now.
Yeah, it's it's going two directions. I mean, you look at something like, have you seen Barry's Boot Camp?
Yeah.
That fucker, that is
heard. I haven't
Is
crazy.
it weights and treadmills? Is that what they
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
Yes,
you
yes,
get on
yes, yes.
treadmill and you just fucking sprint. And the coach will come around and just put the fucking the level up while you're like sprinting away, and then it's
Pressing
like
the buttons.
change. And then you run to the other side of the room, and then you do bicep curls.
That's literally
And then
what...
bicep curls, bicep curls, bicep curls. And then like
fail.
change, and you get back on the sprint.
Change,
the
you
thing
piece
and
of
you just fucking
shit.
sprint. And then you're back in and you're doing a shoulder press, shoulder press, shoulder press. And that's your workout for, I don't know how long, it's probably 45 minutes or whatever, 5-minute warm-up kind of deal. And then
44
out.
minutes.
And then 50 people get kicked out, and then next 50 come in, and you just pump them.
Clean up your sweat.
Yeah. But it's like dark, so you can't see the way people are moving anyway. The
Perfect.
coach is not walking the room because it's so fucking packed that it's just like
They're bringing the
energy.
performance.
Yeah, and it's just pumping the tunes. And an environment like that is fun. You know, it's fucking great.
Yeah, it's mad.
But, geez, like, when you're looking at, like, longevity, you know, or translatable speed, endurance, strength, that kind of stuff, like, it's just not there.
Yeah.
It's not there. The only outcome of training like that is injury,
Yeah.
long term, and that's for everyone that does that style of training. And I'm not putting shit on. Well, I kind of am in a way, but
Yeah.
you know, it's not necessarily good for
It's-
the individual long term approach to exercise.
That's right. It's
Prescription.
cool, and if you're very aware of how you move and how your body works, then you can go to a class like that and have a great time.
And if you're 20 and you're single,
Yeah,
and
great.
you're already jacked,
Yeah,
they do well.
but if you are like most people and the general population, they do have mobility issues, they do have coordination issues, and we are not excluded from this, right? Like we have all of these limitations ourselves, and those things need to be addressed before you earn the right to work really fast and really hard.
Sprint on a treadmill.
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, you know, fuck, most people can't run properly, right? So
No.
don't fucking run. Like, let's start slow and build these movement patterns. So I think the promise that's sold to people through a lot of those outfits is, well, it just disregards that, right? It's just like, come in here, you're going to sweat, burn calories, have a great time, and you know you'll lose a couple of kilos in the next month, and that's great. Which for us, it's like, fuck that. That's irresponsible. It's not what we're interested in, and there's no long-term relationships there.
No.
It's fast turnover. It's, you know,
Churn.
Yeah, and we don't want that.
No, I don't. Yeah, it's interesting watching the way the industry is moving in these two different directions. And I'll be honest, when I look at the standard strength and conditioning outfit as well, I think even those areas are missing out on areas within, especially adaptability, because they're so strength focused and speed focused and coordination focused and plyo focused. They miss out on a lot of gains when they just bring their attention back to getting mobile.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Some of these guys, like, they're fucking weapons, and then they can't even touch their toes. And you're like, why are you spending all this time on all of these other little things?
trying
you
to
can't
get your
touch
deadlift
your
from
toes.
220 to 227.
And you're complaining about a fucking sore back all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, there's holes there as well. And I think those holes in a gym like ours are always being exposed and always being dealt with. And it's going to continue being like that with the way that our business evolution is growing, just to keep filling those gaps. Because at the end of the day, the human body is designed to be the ultimate generalist, kind of good at everything. We can swim, we can climb. We can't swim as well as a dolphin, can't climb as well as a monkey, but we can do these
Can't
things.
fly as well as birds.
Can't fly as well as
true.
fly as well as birds, but we can still do them. So when you start taking
More like a
those,
bin chicken.
just trying to focus on one of those things, then that's when shit starts to come apart.
Yeah.
You have to take the generalist approach, unless you're a specialist athlete, and even then, their strength and conditioning coach is always looking at ways to try and treacle in the stuff that works antagonistically to what they do as a profession, because they know that they've got to try and keep these people balanced while they still progress and get better at what they do as individuals. So yeah, it's a tricky little puzzle of a game, but.
So why does it end up that way? That the coaches just say the S&C coach thing, that they are so focused on, strength, power, plyometric ability, all that stuff.
It's culture. You look at these top-end athletes and everyone wants to be like them, and they see them in their Insta account working fucking real hard, but they don't see the chiro, the physio, their stretch therapist and all the rest of it that comes with it. And if you're only running a little outfit, you can't afford to be. It's very difficult to have, or I should say, if you're just a standard person, like a member, to have that kind of crew behind you for you to become, the best at what you do. So you take what gives you the fastest gains and looks the best, and that's all usually heavyweight and fast movements,
Look, I don't know the S&C space, especially considering ball sports and team sports and stuff. I don't know it very well, but I've seen the NFL combine stuff, and I imagine that here as well there's certain hoops you got to jump through to get to the next level of whatever draft pick system that we have here. But in the NFL, for an example, they have numbers and stuff like that gets you put in place. So in terms of why they focus on that stuff, especially, is it's because they're trying to get to the certain numbers.
They're the prerequisites.
The prerequisites to get drafted, etc.
And then it's a real short existence, really, as an athlete. There's no long-term game there.
Well, I don't know. Is there other measurements that are being taken these days? Because I feel like I heard or read something about sort of movement screens starting to become, in some clubs, in some teams around the world or in the States,
mandatory.
Where they do a screen and they can see that, if you've got a bunion on your toe, you got a percentage
likely to tear your
likely to
ACL or
tear,
something.
so like that sort of thing. I know that the FMS, the functional movement screen, the Gray Cook thing, he's trying to get and has successfully brought his system into some teams, but I think it's on a youth level at the moment. But that's what we think would be better, right, in those sports performance.
I think those things are present for the teams or the organisations that are more progressive.
Yeah.
But it all comes back to the bottom line. It's like, look, I don't care about the screens, but if you're telling me that you can reduce my injury rate for the team by some percentage, then we'll do it. And so, that's kind of, like T mentioned, it's all short term, right? It's like, look, this play is only going to last a couple of years, so I'm not trying to set them up for a healthy life. I'm trying to get as much performance out of them over those 2 years and try to keep them on the field for the whole time.
Yeah, so that's what Clint told me. I asked him about it. He's like, there's such a big pool of young up-and-comers that want to play. They're not really concerned about the longevity. You're right.
Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself, what the fuck does that have to do with 99.999% of the population? Absolutely nothing. I get it. There's people out there that want to go and do their little event or play, on a fucking club grade, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting paid, if it's not your livelihood, then you should be thinking long term. What's my body going to be performing like when I hit 40? What's it going to be like when I'm 50? What's it going to be like when I'm 60, 70? This is the long game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can I still fucking mix it up with the boys sparring in 10 years' time? I'm 40 now, still sparring with the guys. I feel good. I want to be able to still be able to do this at 50,
Yeah.
And there's a certain approach to training now that needs to be implemented for me, especially, that allows me to continue to do that. And the kind of training I was doing when I was 20, I could say, well, it had to change as I get older. If I was doing this style of training when I was 20, I would be in a much better place now than the shit that I was doing back then, if that makes sense.
Is that possible?
Well, for the young kids that are coming through,
Can you be
now it is.
more? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've got kids that are coming through that are like 16, 17, and we're watching them utilize our system, and it's creating some really, really good results, you know, balanced physiques, mobile and adaptable, and
Still
now
jacked.
watching them express themselves, and fuck, there's so much potential in the system. It's great.
It's
Very
true.
exciting.
I mean, it is, yeah, you know, on your point, Paul, it's hard, right, to convince a young person, like, hey, you should be thinking about down the track, because they're like, whatever, old man. I'm like, hey, man, don't talk to Tiora like that. Hey, come talk to me. I'm in my 30s. But it's, you know, like it's a real mindset thing, right? And you can't expect a 23-year-old guy to want to hear that. But that's really what we're trying to tell them, and that's what we're trying to teach you. And you know, like you said, we do have people here who are doing it, who are like, yeah, all right, I'll listen. You know, and I mean, fuck, you get a kid who's played, like high-level club soccer, say as a teenager. You had that kid,
Yeah,
who was training for a while.
Yeah.
What was he, like 20 or 19 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And he'd already had kind of a good few years of like high-level performance, like athletic performance under his belt.
Yeah.
And he'd already arrived at that point where he's like, man, I need to change something because my body's breaking down. He wasn't able to keep it up because his job at McDonald's was too demanding or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, he had to, it's like, holy shit, like this kid has already lived enough life as a 17, 18, 19-year-old to understand that now he needs to address this shit.
Yeah.
I did see a post. I didn't read the full thing, regretfully, but Athletes Authority, which is the gym up on the North Shore, shout out to those guys. They put a post up about.
What does that mean?
It's a funny name, but they work with athletes.
So they're the authority of athletes,
That's essentially what they're saying. Is like, that's all we're interested in.
like athlete cops.
It kind of does sound like that a little bit.
They coach
Judges.
athletes.
Yeah, they coach.
Athletes coaches, you could say, or athletes.
Yeah,
you
like their members are all athletes. They're all
Yeah.
playing in some kind of sports team somewhere.
I don't know them. I haven't seen it,
But they keep talking about. There's been, I don't even know what fucking sport, but there's been a spate of like female athletes tearing ACLs lately, and it's like the trial season or like the full season hasn't started yet. I don't even know. It could be AFL or rugby league or something like that.
Jeez.
And they're talking about, and they're like, what is it in the system that's creating all of these female athletes that are then going and tearing their ACL? Because it's like, it's actually a fucking massive problem. Like, it shows that there is a systematic issue in terms of how we're preparing these young athletes. And I'm like, that's really interesting. That's a really good message that they're even just talking about it and realizing, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, because on an individual level, there's a price to be paid for all of these things, for this performance dream, right? This high-level athletic performance.
Was that their athletes or no? It was
No.
in their. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, the idea is that they're helping these athletes.
Yes.
Because, you know, if you don't, like, say that kid, the soccer player,
Yeah.
if you're not playing in the A-League, you probably don't have access to a strength conditioning coach, at least not a good one. And you probably don't have access to a nutritionist and all of those things that an athlete really needs to be able to operate at a high level. So I think their gym is trying to be that. They're like, hey, we have coaches here that help athletes. We have nutritionists. We have systems in place. Come and train here, and we'll address
Take
that.
you to the next level.
Which I think is super cool. You know, because I mean, no one else is doing it. No one else is helping these guys.
I'll have a look at
for
it.
us.
Yeah, I'll have to look them up.
Yeah, check them out. I think it's a cool thing.
I could help them. I'd tell them, don't play AFL. Stop. Quit now while you're ahead.
Is that a ball sport? Stop that. Stop that. No more. Fight, lift, move.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, like even further to your point, Paul, about the combines and the necessary sort of physical attributes required or the prerequisites required to make it into these upper echelons of sport and selective teams and stuff, it becomes very specific, right? So the training becomes very specific. There's like, I don't know, 6 or so different tests they do in the NFL Combine. Vertical leap, bench press, 70-yard dash. A couple of things like maybe broad jump or something. And it's like, well, don't do anything else. Just fucking train for those 6 things. Get really good at it. Get into the team, and then worry about it. And so I guess what happens, people watch Instagram and shit, and then they see these like Fitspo videos of these athletes training, and they're like, well, that's what I want my training to look like because that guy's a savage. And so then they go about like doing banded fucking trap bar deadlifts and the plyo supersets, and doing this cool stuff. But it's like, man, most people don't need that stuff. They're not in a position to do it. They need to, again, earn the right to train in that way.
And they also, most of them have overlooked the first thing they should have done was choose the right parents.
Oh, you're on fire today, too.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Wrong parents.
Damn it.
Where are my golf clubs?
That's right. Now, you know what? I do really like chess.
So expression. We got to talk about like some of our members and how they're expressing themselves on the floor. We got some pole dancers. Got Luffy in that.
Got Luffy. Got Aish was doing pole dancing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get we've got quite a few pole dancers.
Mel,
in the gym.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth. Yeah, pole dancing is big, huh?
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's got good translation to what we do here, actually. The mobility and the strength element, especially for bodyweight.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the bodyweight class.
And a few of the pole dancers, they play with silks, ropes.
Yeah, we've got acrobats.
Anything hanging.
Yeah. Lyra.
Haley on the Lyra.
Yeah. We've got dancers. We've got a lot of military coming through now.
We do.
Yeah.
Military cats. We've got
They're always an interesting
downhill mountain biking.
Actually.
I was going to say, Mark's an incredible Olympic lifter. He likes driving four-wheel drives.
And downhill
mountain biking.
Yeah, so
anything where he can break himself.
Yeah.
He likes rock climbing and shit too, doesn't he?
Yeah. So
we obviously got a lot of jiu-jitsu players now. People who really like the jiu-jitsu thing, they want to compete and do all that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see once, because obviously that's in its early infancy, but once we start getting a little bit of a pull there and some time under our belts, what these younger cats coming through are going to be able to do on the mats in 3-4 years' time. And I think I'm predicting this, that there will be a certain style that our gym will produce because of their ability to express themselves. And I think, maybe they won't win every comp, but I think that people will be able to look at the individuals that come out of this gym and go, fuck, they're difficult to roll with because they're mobile and they're strong and they're explosive and they've got all those tools and attributes at their fingertips that they utilize from combining their jiu-jitsu with the systems that we use for our
marijuana.
With marijuana.
Oh, we're not going down there? Okay. I thought that's what we talk about in marketing. No. Oh.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, Dave said that when he started coaching. He was like, man, your fucking guys are like, they learn things really quick, and they were just all like bumbly white belts, fumbling their way through a class. But the coordination was there, the understanding of the body, and they had strength and mobility, like on the whole, more so than your standard group of new people that turn up to a jiu-jitsu academy who aren't really doing any physical preparation.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck. I was watching last night a couple of the girls who have been, they've been in the program for quite a while, but really they've just been dabbling with it as part of their overall training. And they were rolling. I'm like, fuck, this was a high-level roll that the girls were having. I watched them do about 3 or 4 rounds. I'm like, man, the exchanges here are epic. Like you don't see that shit from other people who've been training for a year. Which really goes to show that having that training base just gives you so many options that you can't perceive of because you have it. And you can't perceive of it if you don't have it because that's just what your body is.
Yeah. And the idea of having a more durable body also means that you can practice your discipline more often and longer because you don't have these injury breaks that generally come along with having imbalances in the body. You know,
Yes.
There's also the cultural aspect as well of having an atmosphere, a culture
looking
in a gym.
after each other.
Yeah, where you can, give up your back sometimes, and you're not trying to rip each other's head off and not lose a single point.
Never give your back.
Well, no, you know what I mean. I never would, but
Other people can.
yeah, we're just drilling you. Soft. Yeah, but yeah, just being able to play a little bit more and get tagged, inspiring a bit. But how you're trying
Express
to
yourself a little.
express
Well, it's an art,
yourself.
isn't it? Really, you know.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of young fighters as well now that actually have fights under the belt that are coming to the gym and have moved away from their fight gym to train with us full time.
What kind of fight? Thai boxing?
Thai boxers,
MMA?
yeah. Got MMA. Got a few jiu-jitsu guys that have come over now, which is good. Bigger, like a higher belts, some
Yep.
purples and blues, which is nice. So we're starting to get the depth in our martial arts area of the
Stables,
system. But
martial arts.
yeah, we've got
stables.
all walks now. We've got a couple of girls that are prepping for powerlifting comp. So
Olympic lifting.
yes.
I think
Olympic
it's
lifting. So
comp, yeah.
Joe and Al. So yeah, it's interesting, and they're choosing our space to do these things in, and this is, I think, is quite rare, and it comes back to the fact that the systems that we use don't dominate their training life to the point where they can't practice or express themselves in context with the stuff that they like to do outside of the gym.
Yeah,
You know?
they're not alienated because they want to go and do some heavy lifts in the corner. It's like,
Yeah.
that's sick.
Yeah.
Then you got someone like you training on the straps, and then you got someone doing handstands, then you got someone stretching. It's like, it's all happening. It's all, anything goes in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a creative space, and I think in a space like that, it's hard to, you don't get to a position where you feel like you're being judged or you're doing something wrong. It's very collaborative, and people constantly helping each other better themselves.
Unless you are doing something wrong, in which case we'll fucking let you know.
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
I'm pumped for this year. It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, with the stuff we've got on, the people that are coming through now, as you just mentioned, filling
Talent
up the
pool's
different
just
space.
getting better.
Yeah, and we all learn
It's
from
amazing.
each other. And there's got some new coaches coming on with different skills and perspectives and stuff like that, with more in the pipeline and the internship and the
Yeah,
fucking
fantastic.
Christmas party and all of that.
We're going to wrap it up there, homies.
Sounds good. That was fun.
That was a good one. Thanks
Yeah.
for listening today, fam. If you enjoyed that episode, if you know someone that would like to listen to it, please share it with them. That helps us to grow the podcast. Internship, 19th of March. Let us know if you're interested. Follow us on Instagram at Jungle Brothers Movement. Heaps of good info going out there. And also shout out to Panavore Cafe for providing the coffee that we drink today. Tree is a legend. He runs the cafe. It's only a stone's throw from the gym, and they do make the most delightful egg sandwich. Call it the Joey.
Oh,
Catch you guys next week.
okay.